I know it sounds like I'm still in high school, like maybe you just can't find the right people, and hence the friendship didn't go deeper beyond what it was, which was just hanging out to have a good time. I was also not my happiest, but it will not be my job to convince them to hang out with me or convince them of my worth as a friend. Hi guys, my name is Chagi. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about friendship, and the reason why I want to talk about this topic today is because I feel like maybe it's the content that I've been consuming, but I feel like in my feed here and there I see that people make videos on how they don't have friends or how they're struggling with friendships, and I kind of feel like this is quite a common problem. So personally for me, I've also went through my own sort of friendship struggles, but right now I'm at a place where I'm more comfortable and confident with my friendships. So I felt like today I wanted to talk about the lessons that I've learned on friendships that I wish I knew when I was younger, that has brought me to the place that I am now. But before we start this video, I want to make it clear though that this video is not going to be about why you don't need friends, friends are bad, or you should embrace being alone. It is genuinely going to be a video on how I felt like I made better friends and built better friendships, because I feel like aside from romantic relationships, friendships are honestly the thing that gives my life a lot more meaning and makes life a lot more enjoyable compared to if I were to spend it alone. So if you're someone who wants to go out there and make better friends, or you're just someone who wants to see another person's perspective on how they made better friends, here are 3 lessons on friendships that I wish I knew when I was younger. So the first lesson that I've learned is surrounding yourself with the right people. So I feel like a lot of people have heard this saying that you are the average of your 5 friends, and even though I know that it's really cliche, but I also think that it's really true, because I feel like when we hang out with people who are not so great or who don't really align with our values, it will sort of affect the person that we become, and also by extension the friend that we are, even though we may not realize it at the moment. So to illustrate what I mean by this, I will give an example of myself. So I used to be somebody who would hang out with most people as long as they seemed like they wanted to be my friend and that they're happy to include me in their friend circle. And I think this alone is not an issue, but I remember this one time I was sort of hanging out a lot with this one friend group, and don't get me wrong, they are really nice to the people that they consider friends, but at the same time they would also sort of like to gossip about other people who they are not really close with, or also talk behind people's backs, and this would be the main activity of the friend group whenever we hang out. And how it affected me as a person is that while I don't think I actually became like a mean girl who talks behind people's backs all the time, I felt like I was also participating in the gossip a lot more than I would want, because it was sort of like the main activity of our group, which I have mentioned just now. And also something a little bit specific is that I find that I would also be less nice to people that they talk bad about. So basically, if they talk bad about person B, I also find that I, without any real reason, I'm also not as nice to person B, even though person B individually has been quite a good person to me and also might have helped me a lot. And I felt like this stemmed from the point that I felt a bit of peer pressure to not be so close to person B. I know it sounds like I'm still in high school, but I feel like the people that you hang out with would indirectly affect how you feel about something and a person, even if you're conscious that what they are doing is not really right and what you are doing is not really right. Because I think it's hard for you to control how you feel about a certain thing when the environment and the people that you are surrounding yourself with isn't right. So that's when I realized that by hanging out with these people, I'm not the person that I want to be, because I feel like the person that I want to be is to be somebody who is kind and nice to most people unless they prove me otherwise. And I also realized one thing about hanging with people who are not really right for us is that I think it also affects the quality of the friendship, because what I feel is that even though we do spend a lot of time together, I felt like our interactions didn't go beyond having a good time with each other. So after I thought about it, I think I realized is that these people didn't really align with my values, and when I hang out with people who didn't really align with my values, I felt like I couldn't be my true self. And I also felt like when I couldn't be my true self, I also can't be completely comfortable in the friendship, and hence the friendship didn't go deeper beyond what it was, which was just hanging out to have a good time. And I always felt like I was holding a part of my true self back whenever I'm hanging out with these people. And I also give an example of a flip side of when I feel like I've hung out with the right people is that I'll give an example of this one friend that I recently made, because with her, I remember I'm in general quite an open person, so I also talked to this friend about about like my personal problems that I'm going through, like my medical stuff and everything. And after talking to this friend, what she did was that after we went our separate ways and went home, she would actually text me a short little paragraph to like give me comfort about the situation that I'm going through. And I find that really so nice about her, because I think part of it is because I'm also a words of affirmation girly. But even if you're not a words of affirmation person, I feel like you appreciate somebody who actually takes the extra time to just like validate how you feel and to like check in with you and everything. So I think this little act also made me realize how nice it is to receive something like this from somebody else. And I think in turn it also helped me become a better friend, because after that what I did with my other friends as well is that if they did tell me something that really bothered them or whatever it is that they told me and I felt like they needed some extra comfort, sometimes I would take the time. It doesn't even take a lot of time. It takes like 5 minutes for me to just drop a text to them to just tell them that thank you so much for sharing this to me, or something like I know you'll be okay. So I think this goes to show how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. Because when I choose to surround myself with people that align with my values and who also inspire me to be a better person, I also think that because of that, I also become a better person myself and also a better friend. And that in turn also helped me build better friendships, because I also learned a lot of good values from hanging out with people like this. Like for example, that friend taught me how to be more caring, and also some friends like teach me how to be more generous. Some friends teach me how to be more considerate. So yeah, that's the main point of my first point, which is to always surround yourself with the right people and people who align with your values. And the second thing that I learned about friendships is that it takes time to nurture a meaningful friendship. And I'm sure everybody has heard the saying quality over quantity, and I part agree with this and don't agree with this as well, because while I think that there is no limit to the number of friends we can have, it definitely takes a lot of time and effort to build a friendship that is meaningful and that makes us feel really comfortable. I admit for the most part of my life, I've always wanted to be the popular girl, and only very recently I've come to terms with the fact that the concept of popularity is kind of overrated. Because when I think back about it, at the time of my life when I had a lot of friends, which was back in college, I was also not my happiest. And when I think about it more, I think it's because even though I had a lot of friends and knew a lot of people, most of them didn't go beyond the normal small talk or the normal hi-bye friends, and I felt like I didn't have a deeper connection to them other than this like random small talk whenever we see each other. Because what I think now is that a friendship is actually more or less like a relationship. I feel like the only main thing different with a friendship is that it's more socially acceptable to have a lot of friends compared to like in a relationship where you can only have one partner. At least that's the case in monogamous relationships. But I think aside from that, what it takes to build a great friendship is also the same as a relationship. Both people have to be willing to take time to get to know each other, be willing to be vulnerable and open to each other, even though sometimes there's the fear of being judged. You choose to still be open to each other, and also that mutual desire and intention to deepen that friendship. And what I mean by this is that you know that feeling when you ask a friend out and you can feel like they are as excited to see you as you are to see them. So you don't feel like you're actually like sort of forcing a friend out, or their friend is only meeting you when they have free time. So it's basically two people making free time to see each other, even though it might not be the most convenient for them. And that's what I think is the foundation for a good friendship. So that's why I think for me personally, I don't quite align with the concept of low maintenance friendships. Because yes, I think there are friends where you only see maybe once a year or twice a year. But I think with these kind of friends, I think it's also really hard to maintain a really deep and progressive friendship, because you only see each other like 1 or 2 times a year and only update each other 1 or 2 times a year. Aside from the fact that maybe that friend is like a long distance friend, otherwise I feel like low maintenance friendships is a bit of a myth. Because I think when I reflect about it, most of my friends now where I feel really comfortable with and have a really meaningful connection with and I can talk to about a lot of things are friends that I actually see on quite a regular basis. Obviously, we don't see each other every single day, but we will sort of make time to see each other maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks at least. So yeah, that's where I am at now. You can also leave in the comments what you think about this concept of low maintenance friendships, or whether friendships take a lot of effort, because I'm also curious to know how people think about all these concepts, because I think everybody is so different. And I also took some time to realize that when people say quality over quantity, it doesn't mean that you need to have a limit on on the amount of friends that you can have, or you can only have X amount of friends. I think it all depends on what kind of friendship that you want, and also the amount of energy you can pour into these friendships. So what I realized is, like, let's say for introverts and extroverts, the number of friends and the friendships that you have can be quite different, because I can speak from an extrovert's point of view that I personally have a lot of social energy to go around. So in comparison to my introverted friends, I do have more energy to spare to like nurture my friendships compared to some people who would value their alone time more and recharge better by being home alone. And I think the point that I'm trying to make is that that's why there is no right or wrong when it comes to how many quality friendships you want to maintain and what sort of friendships you want to have. Because I think as an extrovert, I definitely need a lot less effort to maintain my multiple friendships versus like my introverted friends. Maybe they do not have a lot of energy to spare to maintain these friendships, but they will choose the friends that they want to be with, and that's why I'm always very grateful for my introverted friends who would make time to spend with me, and when they say that I don't drain them. And yeah, so I think that quality over quantity would look very different for everybody. Maybe for somebody like me, I can have 10 quality friends, but some people, they only have energy for 5 quality friends, and there's no right or wrong to that. But I think the main takeaway from this point that I'm trying to make is that it definitely takes time and commitment from both people to build a great friendship. And the third lesson that I learned is to choose people who choose you. I think this last point is also one of the most important points that I have to learn when growing up and making friends. Because I think growing up, I used to be somebody who was very insecure with myself. I felt like everybody had to want to be my friend or had to like me. Otherwise, it means that there's something wrong with my personality or something wrong with me as a person. But I think most of you have already heard this, but I just want to reiterate this because this is something that I only truly really embodied more recently in my life, is that I will not be for everybody. But most of the time, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with myself. And over the years, I also realized that there will be people who will be more than happy to include you in their hangout, even though you might not always have time to see them. But there are also people who would not want to include you in their hangout, no matter how easy it is to include you in their friend circle. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with the latter type of people that don't want to hang out with me, because I feel like everybody's entitled to choose who they want to hang out with. But I also think it is on me to not take things so personally when something like this happens. For me, I feel like in this scenario, I can think about if there's anything that I've done wrong, or maybe something that I did that offended the other person to make them not want to hang out with me. But I feel like after like a certain level of reflection and you feel like you've done nothing wrong, then I think that for me, I would choose to focus on the fact and be happy that there are people who would appreciate my presence in their life and people who don't really want to hang out with me. But it will not be my job to convince them to hang out with me or convince them of my worth as a friend, because I'm confident enough right now as a person that I am a decent friend, and that I would also choose to hang out with people that choose to hang out with me. So that's the end of the video. I think after talking about all this, I definitely realized that making friends is definitely not easy. But if you look at all these 3 points, I think the first thing is you definitely need to know what kind of people that you want to hang out with and choose the right friends, because I think choosing the right friends are really important, as what I said in the first point. But at the same time, we should also make sure that our desire to build a good friendship with someone is also reciprocated by the other person, because it takes 2 to make a great friendship. And so yeah, I feel like it's definitely not easy to make good friends. It definitely takes a little bit of luck and effort on our part. And I think another point to remember is that there will probably be setbacks here and there when you're trying to make a friend. Like maybe you just can't find the right people, or maybe like the person that you really want to be friends with don't reciprocate the energy that you give. But I think like by knowing that there will be setbacks, it's important to know that it's okay to have setbacks and to take time to reset. If you ever encounter this, don't be discouraged if your attempts to make friends don't work, because it definitely takes time and a little bit of luck to find your tribe. And so remember that if there's setbacks, just take time to reset. But after you feel ready again, just go out there and, you know, make friends. Because I do believe that the effort that we put into making and building our friendships is worthwhile. And I'm sure that if you keep making the effort to go out there and meet these potential people that will become your good friends. Sooner or later, you'll definitely find the circle that makes you the most comfortable and most fulfilled. And so yeah, I hope that the points that I shared today are helpful, and maybe if you have any other lessons that you learn on friendship, feel free to share it down in the comments, because I definitely want to know what people think about this topic, because I feel like growing up I definitely had a lot of setbacks when it comes to making friends, and it's only recently that I felt more confident with the friendships that I have in my life right now. And yeah, I would definitely like to hear what y'all think about it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye!